Okay, we are ready.
I want to ask about the higher self connection. The part of us, the larger part of us that has the broader point of view. Technically, I suppose many call it our soul. But our higher self connection, can you explain what that is and what we need to know about that?
Yes. The higher self connection is one that is of much importance to begin to try to connect with if you are not already. This higher self connection knows everything about your past, present, and future and is guiding you, so to speak, in terms of the direction of your life. We will say sometimes the hunches that you get and the intuitions that you have come from the higher self.
What is important about the higher self now in these times?
Connection to your own source of information and energy is of the utmost importance at this point in time. There has been times where many are outsourcing their power and information to external sources, ones in which are siphoning energy and trying to control the collective. As humans, your society has taught you to trust in authority. And we are not telling you not to trust in authority, but we would recommend to check in with yourself and see what is important to you, how you feel about things, and what truth resonates within your soul and beingness. As some things you are being taught are not accurate, and yet you are reteaching this to others, and it is not of the highest good for you or others. And so a connection to your higher self allows you access to divine source energy of the highest good that helps guide your life and choose the most optional things for your own life.
How do we begin building a connection with the higher self if someone hasn't already?
There are many different ways one can tune in to one's higher self, the most common being meditation, but many cannot meditate as the world today has caused, we will say, short attention spans. So the ability to sit and connect in for an extended period of time is difficult. Other things that interfere with the higher self connection are strong emotional frequencies such as anxiety and fear and panic, which your society has created a vibration of, making it very difficult to sit and reconnect to the higher self. And so for some of you, movement and connection to your higher self would be helpful. This can look like going for a walk or connecting into Mother Nature.
Or chores.
Or chores. Sometimes driving as well, as you are not using the emotional parts of your brain while driving. You are able to disconnect, focus on another thing, as well as be more present in the moment.
I mention that because I know many people are really busy, and that seems to be really difficult to stop and meditate, and I know I'm one of those who do not meditate very easily sitting still. So moving being a form of meditation, is this just as effective?
Yes, sometimes it is even more effective to incorporate movement because many are caught in the mind, and so the constant cycle of thought makes it difficult for one to connect into a higher level of consciousness or knowing. So movement can be very helpful. However, it is not helpful if you are using that movement to distract yourself from other things. And so finding a balance between your movement and your connection to your higher self is necessary. When you are using movement, such as chores or grocery shopping or other things as a way to distract the mind, the connection to the higher self is not possible.
And so, how do we begin recognizing when we are connecting to the higher self, whether it be during quiet meditation or movement?
We would like to note to start to not get too in your head about your connection and the feeling of being connected, because for some this will cause much anxiety. Am I connected? Am I not connected? Am I feeling something? Am I not? And then the mind spiral goes on and on again. And so we will say, just focus on becoming present. Each higher self connection may feel different. And so what one can do is ask the higher self to show how it comes in. For some, it may come in as a energy from the top of the head. From some, it will come in from the back. And from others, it will feel like a grounding into Mother Earth. These are a few ways in which the higher self connection can feel to some. For some, it feels expansive, like their energy is flowing out and they are getting bigger. We will say, try not to get hung up on if you are connected or not, but rather ask your higher self to show you or to give you a sense that they are there and present. And each time you get that feeling, trust that that is your higher self.
And if you are bogged down by heavy emotions such as fear, anxiety, grief, worry, what is the best course of action to connect into the higher self if you have much of this going on in your day-to-day life?
First, it is important to dispel these we will say the density and debris that has been built from these strong emotions. A lot of you will recognize the heaviness that one feels when they are in grief or fear or anxiety. And so moving forward, movement can be very helpful in releasing these from the body. So shaking it out or going for a walk and grounding your energy into the earth can be very, very beneficial. Another way in which this density can be cleared is different energy frequencies of music. Turning on a song that you like and shaking it out can be helpful. But even so, listening to the music in which makes your heart sing can help you release this density. We will say a lot of these emotions are created in the mind. And so getting out of your mind and into your body can be helpful.
I know you say shake it out. My brain goes to dancing. Mainly because I know that that's a big way that we tend to do that. I know shaking it out can be different, but... And so how does this help in connecting to the higher self? How does this allow someone to move forward in their connection, and what does that do for them?
When they are able to release the mind and the density that comes with it and connect into the higher self, it allows for a flow of energy as well as information. One that feels like a true knowing to oneself, and it allows you to move through your reality with more clarity and grounded structure that one may need. When outsourcing your power and getting information from external sources and trusting that as true knowing, it can be damaging to the human body as well as the forward momentum of one's life. However, we will say that nothing is a mistake. All is information and needed for soul evolution. So, if you have outsourced your power and gotten external information, we will say, do not fret, do not worry, but to check in and see how that feels. Sometimes external information is not a bad thing, but checking in with oneself and having a grounded sense of your own knowing is important, especially in the coming days. as the world is in chaos, as many of you feel and see around you, having a grounded center and connecting into your own knowing is important. It helps you to know that everything is okay and you are going to be okay.
How do you build a connection to your higher self? I know we speak of connecting into the higher self, but how do you begin to strengthen that connection? What can people do to do that?
First, it takes a want to do it, and then a need for surrender and devotion of sorts, a reconnecting in. You can almost look at it as a daily ritual or a task that you may do in order to reestablish this connection and help you move forward. But the want needs to be there. Many don't want to connect into the higher self because it is easier to outsource their power. It is easier to trust another to lead their life. However, we will say this is not the most optimal choice. If you are wanting to live your life to the fullest. But for some, this is the easy way to go. However, this is an illusion, we will say.
And how is it an illusion? I know many would say it's easier to watch the news, it's easier to listen to a spiritual guru for answers, and there's many ways that could be spoken on, but why is this an illusion and why is it important to find internal connection first and foremost?
A lot of times when you are trusting a said guru, you do not necessarily know the behind the scenes things that are happening. You do not know the type of attachments that they might have or their motivations for what they are doing. And so the energy that you may be receiving may not be of the highest good. And if you are blindly trusting the things that you are receiving, that you are consuming, and that you are doing, it may have detrimental effects on you that you are not aware. And so when you are living your life blind to the things that are affecting you, you will hit barriers. Barrier after barrier after barrier, and you will say, why is my life looking like this? Why is nothing working out? Why do I feel the way that I do that is not good? By reconnecting into the higher self and tuning into the information that is of the highest good for you, you are able to check in with yourself in regards to external information and help and say, does this feel right for my soul? Does this feel right for my path forward? And then you are able to move with clarity. The illusion is the help and things that you are accepting from other sources may not actually be helping you.
So how do you know that something you are watching or listening to is helping you versus not helping you?
This is where we would like to bring in discernment.
Is it okay to move into that topic at this time?
Yes.
Why is this important?
Discernment is important because what is happening now on your earth may seem to you as one thing, but behind the scenes is another. Many are coming to an awakening point where they are seeing through the manipulation and fear tactics, and yet some are not. And so it is important to be able to tune in to the things that you are hearing and seeing and feel if this is resonant. We want to highlight the importance of understanding the undercurrents of information. Much information in your media is there to control your mind. It is to control your emotional state and to keep your vibration at a lower frequency.
And what does this do for us, or for those of us who do listen to those things?
There are many who can listen to it and discern what is truth and what is not, and not let that shake them to their core. But there are some who listen to this media and are put into a tailspin, we will say, and it is a constant, we will bring back the cycle of thought that goes over and over and over about the worst case scenarios. What happens when your body is put into that type of frequency is it allows, we will say, your energy to dip and your physical body to become open to illness, disease, attachments, and different things. The goal of your society right now is to keep you in a place that could be controlled. If your frequency and vibration is lower and you are not thinking for yourself, you are easily controllable. If you have discernment, you are able to check in with information, remain grounded, and see if this is right for you. You are less controllable.
I know many would say it's easier to not have to use the mental bandwidth to constantly be pulling apart information and trying to decipher what's real and what's not, and what is good and what is not. And what do you say for those thinking that it is too difficult to do such a thing, to discern for themselves? Because it does take a lot of effort in the beginning.
In the beginning, yes, it does. However, there is an easy way around this. And we will say this. When you are listening to information, what does the first couple of seconds tell you before the anxiety or your fear hits? The most clarity in the information that you are getting comes within the first couple of seconds in which you hear it. After the fact is when the emotion can set in and take over, and when the mind jumps in to tell you all the things that could go wrong. And so we will say, how did you feel when you first heard this before the anxiety creeped in? And try not to pick it apart, as your mind can create different avenues of information and stories.
So using those first couple of seconds to, is it feeling the energy and the initial response before all of the humanness aspects set in?
Yes, correct.
And what does this do? How does this help someone begin to discern?
This begins to help them to trust the feelings that they are having. However, at first, for a highly anxious individual, it will be very difficult to discern what is and what is not. And so with that, we will say take time not to pick it apart, but to sit with yourself, to practice presence and building a foundation of presence, of returning to self. And then when you go into the outside world, seeing how that information feels. And if it feels chaotic, taking a moment again to ground and to be present and see what comes up. Many are moving from the knee-jerk reaction that they are having, the initial emotion that comes up, which may be fear or panic, and then they are moving from that state. It is important to, if you feel this, take time to recenter your energy, to then say, how does this feel to me, and how should I move forward with this information? This then brings in the higher self. When you are able to be grounded and present in the moment, you are then able to access this information of what is truth and what is not. And you are able to see the events with more grounded clarity.
And why is this important now? How does this help us?
This will help you in many different ways. There are many of you who are, we will say, coming online, so to speak, with different abilities and being able to sense and see different things. In order to have these abilities come online, one needs to be able to remain grounded and present, or be able to come back to this state with ease. It is not a state that you will find every single time, and it is not a consistent state that you will be in. And so do not be so hard on yourself to say, I am not present, I am not grounded all of the time, as that is not meant to happen in your human experience. There are highs and there are lows. But it is the ability to be able to come back to oneself, to ground, and then to check in and say, how does this feel for me? This is allowing that higher self connection to flow in, and then able to move forward in the abilities in which are coming online.
And so how do we begin to build discernment beyond just when we hear information? Is there anything that we can do?
Yes, there are different ways in which you can look back, so to say, on your life and inspect how you feel. And we will say, do not pick it apart, so to speak, but in retrospect, things are a lot more clear than they are in the moment. And so you can go back to a situation, say you are dating somebody, and you had this feeling, this gut feeling that this just is not the right relationship, or something just feels off. And we will say, that is your intuition. This is your gut feeling. How can you embrace this feeling moving forward? This is your discernment muscle that you are building. How can you look back on the experiences of your life in which you felt very good and things worked out well? You moved in a way that was appropriate for that feeling. And what are situations in which you've stayed in where you have felt, oof, this just does not feel right and I cannot put my finger on it? And we will say, this is how you are able to build this discernment muscle. Can you take these feelings that you have had in the past and place them into experiences that you have moving forward? Say you come in contact with someone who, again, you have this feeling like something is just off with my interaction. And so can you reflect on past experiences and move accordingly? You may meet somebody who you feel, oh my goodness, I've known this person my whole life, past lives. They feel so resonant to me. And so we would say trust that, as that is probably a soul contract or a soul mate of some sort coming into your life for a reason, and you will move accordingly.
Is there anything else you want to say on discernment?
We know that discernment may be difficult moving forward, and your world is very convoluted in the information that is out there. But your higher self connection will help you to filter through the information. And some information that you receive may seem like it does not fit. And we will say, trust in your gut feeling in terms of the connection with your higher self, as they do know.
And that's where the importance of the higher self connection comes in.
Yes, it helps to create a strong foundation for yourself moving forward.
And this is important for anyone who is diving into even the spiritual nature of things, but life in general.
Yes, we will say that it is important for everyone. Some may not want to, and that is okay. But the higher self connection is important just for everyday things. in terms of it is just in sense you can think of as being in tune with your true self. Your higher self wants the best for you. It is always guiding you.
I want to say thank you for taking the time to speak with us on this topic.
Thank you.